Setons Wars number 5. It's July 8th. Where Killer as UEF gets to take on Barry, who's Aeon on the other side. Barry sends in an early NG with his ACU trailing. On Barry's team, DCCC in back as Aeon. Got Cyth with AUEF on the rock. And Supermumu with Cybern playing on beach. Taking on Cyth is Scruffy, one of the best players in this game as UEF. In the back, he's got a Smurf playing a Seraphim, and on rock Cybern you got Elias. In the early flare confrontation, with Barry winning it, not finding an NG, splitting to two flares to go on either sides of Killer's base. Minute 5, all the mass is gone, with Barry getting about 9k versus 5k for Killer. Pretty big mass advantage, but now Barry has to run into the water, running a little low on health, and he will be able to make it with about 1k health left. Some bombing coming in from Cyth, bombing directly on the ACU. Cyth drops off some NGs. Minute 6 at Scruffy's base, and reclaims Scruffy's NGs just before he's able to make a PD, and now it begins capturing NGs. Also drops off some NGs in other spots on the map, capturing other NGs. It's a T2 mass extractor. It's hard to capture, but a really great move from Cyth there. Oh, this is very nice, and upgrading T2. So a total of 5 mass extractors captured from Scruffy. Barry was able to get T2 on his ACU and actually begins making a T1 torpedo launcher, hoping Killer might go into the water. Some bombing from Scruffy, T1 bombing. Auroras are pretty vulnerable, killing the radar, not 5 kills. Barry comes out to put some pressure on Killer. Very even numbers at this point. Killer still at T1 with ACU. Barry with T2, and now Killer retreats into the water. Both ACUs before under 4k, and now they separate. And now Killer will realize that he's being shot by a torpedo launcher, and will actually die. So pretty unlucky for Killer there. Some T1 bombing attempts from Cyth, but a total of 4 frigates are able to kill a destroyer before it drops off a bomb. The middle base was given over to Scruffy. He's now making some units, stopping this initial push from Barry. Barry has made a tactical missile launcher and has got quite a bit of mass to reclaim. Tactical missiles from Barry began hitting their targets. Although Scruffy does have some T2, he's made a whole bunch of T2 PD, and now I'm working on attack missile defense. And Smurf actually pushing his ACU further into battle. Smurf is forced to retreat by about 30 Auroras. However, he is protected by a bunch of T2 PD as well as some Mongoose. A snipe attempt by Supermumu. He flies into a whole bunch of ASF from Smurf, which triggers the first ASF battle, which DCCC wins easily. He's got numbers and micro here. Would have been better if Supermumu actually took out the attack missile defense, which is doing his job pretty well, although wasn't able to save that T2 mass extractor. See, Scruffy has a whole bunch of frigates and a single destroyer. A pretty big submarine force from Elias moving in on Supermumu. Now a destroyer from Elias taking on a bunch of Auroras from Barry in the middle. Barry is actually pushed forward, but is not able to move any further than this T2 line from Scruffy. A whole bunch of T1 PD as well, just in case there's a big T1 rush, so that's no longer an option. Barry's now making his own base, got a stealth field with some PD. pretty big torpedo bombing run from Elias, which goes directly at Mumu's T2 factory, which may not be the most effective. Mumu making some T2 torpedoes and already has a Tech 3 engineer from a Tech 3 air factory. However, we'll have to deal with a bunch of T1 subs as well as a destroyer. So it'll be pretty close. Although I should get some help from DCC. A very big confrontation, naval confrontation between Cyth and Scruffy is coming up. The difference here is that Cyth is not using shields at all, while Scruffy's got quite a few. As well as quite a few T2 destroyers and cruisers. You can see just how big his navy is, quite a few ships. See Cyth navy in the distance. Barry begins sniping at Elias mass extractors. They already got one. No TMD from Elias at this point. Elias is pushing with a bunch of destroyers, trying to cut off Barry from the rest of his base. However, he's getting hit by some T3 torpedo bombers. And we can see the hits from Barry keep on coming. Looks like at this point 4 mass extractors are dead. Elias moves in a cruiser to prevent any more cruise missiles coming from Barry's base to Elias' main base, so these have a very nice TMD on them. And they're actually attacking with a destroyer, as well as a destroyer on land, which is now going to be attacked by a bunch of T1, T2 units. The battle between Scruffy and Cyth is getting more intense, with Cyth actually being more aggressive and attacking, which might be the wrong move given that she doesn't have the numbers at this point. And definitely less shields. You can see that she no longer has shields, while still a big shield presence from Scruffy. A snipe attempt against Barry from Elias, but fails because a lot of T2 flak under shields. And now we can see Cyth actually losing this battle quite badly. The difference was for the most part shields. Barry actually makes some artillery installations to try to go against ships, as well as to try to snipe some of these TMDs. Quite a bit of shields from Scruffy. Will be very difficult to actually break this base down. Cyth attempts to get more build power to her factories, dropping off more NGs, but a very large force from Scruffy and a lot of shields, so not much of a chance. DCCC attempts to help Cyth out, but a little too late. Quite a few T3 torp bombers, but they just don't have the firepower to break through all these shields, given that Cyth no longer has any navy to provide any damage. And actually Scruffy moves in, looking for another fight. This might be a bad move by him because DCC definitely has the numbers. And now quite a bad turn actually. And DCC will get a lot of kills on this one. So basically Smurf just gave away all of his ASF. The bad move, basically turned his back to DCCC right away. Barry now finds himself facing against some T3 PD. So one unit UEF have that Aeon doesn't, which will give some trouble, as well as Navy on both sides. And now some destroyers from Elias moving in on land, killing off Barry's main base. A very big bombing effort by Supermumu, trying to kill T2 factory